is a noun, flies is a verb, and like an arrow is a prepositional phrase. Next. Meanwhile, systemic functional grammar, or we also call it systemic functional linguistics, describes the elements of the clause in terms of the function, which is a playing, and that clause rather than by word class. For example, in a clause time flies like an arrow in systemic functional grammar analysis, so time as a participant actor, flies is a process, which is material process, and like an arrow is circumstance because it tells about the manner. And in another example, team told of a tragic case, so team participant sayer, because told here is the process of verbal, and of a tragic case is circumstance matter. Next. So in this research, we are focused on the transitivity or the clause as a representation. So in linguistic structure, we have three types parts here. The first is the circumstances. So circumstances tells about when, where, why, how many, and as what. And processes, it is the central to the transitivity, which is realized by verbs. And participants and circumstances are incumbents upon the doings such as happening, feelings, and beings. Next. So we have several types of processes types, which is identified by Holiday. First, we have a material, and we also have a behavioral, mental, verbal, relational, existential, and meteorological process. Material process focus on the doing, such as bodily, physically, or materially. Beside behavioral focus on the behaving, such as psychologically and psychological. Mental focus on the sensing, for example, emotionally, intellectually, and sensorially. And verbal focus on the saying, such as lingually or signally. And relational focus on the being, such as equal to or some attribute of. Existential focus on the existing, such as there exists. And the last, meteorological focus on the weathering. Next. Basically, there are two types process here. First is non-relational processes and also relational process. Non-relational processes is a process of doing. First, we have a material processes, which is process of material doing. Clause has a doing or process and a doer or participant. For example, here we have several examples. The fuel ignites. So the fuel here is a participant and ignites is a process. The youngster wiggle in his seat. The youngster is a participant and wiggle is a process, and his seat is a circumstance. Another example is the exhausted bushwalker drop his pack. So the exhausted bushwalker is a participant as an actor, and drop is process of material, and his pack is a participant of goal. Next. Another example is the youngster wiggle his loose tooth. So the youngster is a participant actor, and wiggle is process of material, and his loose tooth is a participant of goal. Here, material process is the goal, which is brought about by the process. For example, Handel wrote the Messiah. So Handel is an actor, wrote is a material, process of material, and the Messiah is a goal. Next. Next, we have a mental processes. So mental processes describe about ones of sensing, such as a feeling, thinking, or perceiving. For example, that toaster doesn't like me. So that toaster is a participant as a sensor and doesn't like. Here we have a process of mental, and me is a participant of phenomenon. Mark likes new clothes. So Mark is a sensor, likes is a mental, and new clothes is a phenomenon. Mark understood. Mark is sensor, and understand is process of mental. Loneliness, hurt. So loneliness is a sensor and hurt is a mental. Next, we have a behavioral process. So behavioral process is a processes of psychological and psychological behavior, such as dreaming, breathing, snoring, smiling, looking, listening, and etc. For example, in the clause, she lives in the fast land. She is a behavior, lives is a behavioral, and in the fast land is circumstance because it is described about place. Another example, he snores loudly. He behaviors, snores, behavioral, and loudly is circumstance, manner.
So we hope that it is accessible for the students to access their digital comic. So while reading the comic, they can also listen to the pronunciation given by the speaker here. All right. So the conclusion is we think that the study is R&D aimed at developing English for engineering learning materials aided by e-learning. And then this digital comic could be used as supplementary English materials. And then it hasn't been finished yet. So we need following steps like further development on digital storytelling, because we still develop the comic books, not yet the digital one. And then the second one is the content validity on the product. And then the materials quality by formula scoring adopted from Candiasa. And then the implementation of digital storytelling. So after we conduct the R&D R&D study, R&D product, we are going to try out this product. And then the last one, of course, we're going to find out, the figuring out the students' attitude toward the implementation of digital storytelling comic. All right, thank you. That's the end of my presentation. I will close the session.
Okay, thank you, Radina. When many people, when students, okay, the length of concentration decreases, I think we need innovative ways to learn, yeah, like comic. I think it's more interesting than listening to the lectures talking all the time, yeah, Bu, yeah.
Thank you,
Short video. Okay, good, thank you, Bu. Now let's go to Pak Marifik. Pak Marifik, are you here?
Yes, good morning.
Oh, sorry, Ibu. Oh, I'm sorry, Ibu Marifik, please, your PPT, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just share my screen. I'm using a tablet.
Okay, take your time, Bu.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Not yet. Yeah, I see your screen, yes.
Okay, so I'm opening my presentation. Okay. So can I now start?
Okay, please.
Okay, so once again, good morning to everyone. I am very honored to be one of the parallel presenters, and my study is about the decision tree algorithm for assessment, alignment, evaluation in a blended learning environment. I am a faculty of De La Salle University das Marinas, as well as a student from Angeles University Foundation. So this is dissertation proposal that was presented to as a completion for my dissertation in my doctorate studies in information technology. Okay, so the first one is that according to the Prime Minister of Singapore, Lee Hsien, which we should teach less our students so that they will learn more. So this means that the traditional means of rote learning should be minimized and that we should adopt technologies that would prepare our learners to be more equipped in dealing with the real world. So especially now that our platform has drastically changed from physical to blended and even virtual. So the change in the landscape of our society is brought about by the merging boundaries of the physical and digital worlds. So we are now using ubiquitous platforms that we don't distinguish. We can't distinguish between the physical and digital worlds. Okay, so according to Klaus Schwab, the fourth industrial revolution doesn't change the way we are doing, but it changes us. It changes the way it changes our way of life as well as the way we think. This has presented us with unlimited possibilities and opportunities. So this also begs the question of our future in school and learning. So to succeed in the era, what do our learners need? How do we prepare them? As higher education institutions, how can we make sure that our learners are very well equipped in the era with the great exponential change? So according to Swale, the rules are changing, especially now that we have to adapt to these changes. Even if we like it or not, we have to adapt to them. The rules are changing and there is increased pressure on institutions of higher education to evolve, adapt, or as well as desist. So digitalization in the workplace trickles down to the very essential that students be prepared for what to expect in the workplace. So in the Philippines and around the world, now have the era of what we call as the knowledge-based economy. In the knowledge-based economy, OBE is hailed as the most important reform. So OBE stands for outcomes-based education. Several countries, which include Canada, United States, and New Zealand, has implemented outcomes-based education. Here in the Philippines, we also started with the outcomes-based education last 2012. Okay, so the Commission on Higher Education of the Philippines requires all higher education institutions to adopt to outcomes-based education. So what is the aim of this OBE? This aims to produce professionals which are globally competitive by equipping learners with the qualifications and standards of the 21st century. So it emphasizes the point that what and whether students learn successfully is more important than when and how they learn something. So OPE assesses the competencies of the learners. So this view is holistic approach. So in assessing the competencies of the learning in terms of their knowledge, skills, and values, and that these assessments come in various approaches. So this entails performance-based assessment strategies rather than what have been used as the criterion reference assessments. So this is more of on the back end of the learning. So in the delivery, that is on the front end. In here, so this will entail the study of what has happened, what has taken place, and apply knowledge in information technology and in computer science to study that and create policies so that the next offering of the subjects or the curriculum would be better. Okay, so there are different difficulties in the conduct of blended learning, especially now that everything is virtual. One of it is that its alignment with the goals and priorities of the institution, the resistance to change, and the lack of organizational structure and experience with collaboration and partnership. So, moreover, the study suggested that attention should be given to critical thinking skills in an academic environment to upgrade student skills in various specialties. Additionally, more research should be done to investigate the effectiveness of using blended learning in achieving better learning outcomes in various educational programs and courses. So that is one difficulty. So the significant technological revolutions in teaching and learning have been confined to addressing of issues in whether students or teachers may be able to access the materials and their convenience in doing so. So, however, addressing the relevance and quality of learning experience demands that we, as higher education institution, takes a fresh look at how it approaches teaching and learning, and as well as utilizing technology. So how are we going to measure and analyze dynamic student data to gain a better understanding of the learning process with the ultimate goal of optimizing learning and teaching involves learning analytics. So that is one area of computer science and information and technology in which we would uh, identify and study trends on how the students learn through their scores, through how much they access the materials, how long do they study the materials. So that is learning analytics. So this involves using IT not only on the learners but the learning environments. Okay, so this study will focus on the application of the OBE in a blended learning environment with regard to attainment of the intended learning outcomes. Sometimes we give assessments, we give instructions to our students, and that would not help, or that is not helpful towards the attainment of the learning outcomes that we have identified prior to giving out these assessments. So there are a handful of studies on the application of OBE in higher educations in the face-to-face, but very limited to the blended setup as well as to the virtual because this is all new to us. Okay, so the study of this, the general objective of this study is to, what the paper aim is to assess if what is done in the face-to-face setup is transcended to the blended learning courses. So this paper will also assess the evidence of the implementation of OBE, which refers to the learning outcomes. Specifically, okay, so it would want to propose a framework for the evaluation of tasks or assessments given in the blended learning environment and its alignment to its intended learning outcomes. How would the assessments help us attain the learning outcomes? And then after proposing a framework, we can create a model that we can use to analyze the assessments given in the blended learning environment, which are aligned with the learning outcomes stated at the beginning of the course, utilizing an algorithm in computer science known as correlation and regression tree algorithm. And then to classify the different learning tasks given in the blended learning environment through the use of decision trees, examine if the assessments given in the blended learning environment are with the same level of cognition intended for the course through the decision tree algorithm implementation, and to highlight the influence of the framework generated during the data mining activity in the formulation of policies or plans to assure that the courses done in the blended environment fulfills the intention of a successful implementation of the outcomes-based education. So for the methodology, I will use, or I am using the knowledge KDD, or the knowledge discovery in databases process. This is a data mining process in which I would have to select data sets, okay, from the data warehouse. I am going to transform it and see if there are patterns, which I will use to interpret and evaluate to come up with knowledge. In this case, I would want to check, or I would want to know if the learning outcomes are aligned with the assessments given by the teachers. Okay, so this is
Miss
my
Marific, Miss Marific,
yes.
sorry to interrupt. You have 5 more minutes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. For the study design, as I have said, I am using the CART algorithm, using the in the data mining and the knowledge discovery, and I would want to employ that in the PDCA or the plan, do, and check framework. This is used to utilize to ascertain that the continual improvement of learning is described in the OBE framework. So when we create another batch of or another syllabus or another program, we will check if these assessments are equivalent or aligned with the learning outcomes. Okay, so the study participants, the data set will come from the classes offered by and to the students of the Computer Studies Department from the school year 2016 to 2019. In our university, in De La Salle University de las Marinas, we were lucky because we were able to adopt new LMS and primarily we use school book for the delivery of our subjects. These are the different assessments used in the school book. So we have a quiz. It can be an offline assessment. We can do a discussion online. It can be a team, a Dropbox. Okay, and then all of those are the different types of assessments. Okay, so this is a quiz type assessment. When the teacher decides to create a quiz, he or she can create a true or false question, a multiple choice question with one answer or many answers, and free form or arithmetic. A library is just he or she can refer to the previous questions created and use that for the current subject. Okay, next, the classification of the assessment will be based on the Bloom's taxonomy. So these are the different types of assessment. When we identify several learning outcomes, it should be within the Bloom's taxonomy. Okay, and then the statistical analysis of data, we are going to use the GULMS and the learning objectives and the course assessment coming from the records of the blended learning courses for school year 2016-2019. Okay, so these are my reference and that's all. Thank you.
Salamat, Miss Marifik.
Salamat po.
Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now we are coming to the question and answer session. If you have any questions, you can unmute. You can ask question directly. So anyone? It's good. We have 15 minutes for question and answer session. Or Ibu, okay. Ibu Radina, do you want to talk, you want to describe or explain more about your answer to Mas Musafan?
Okay, Bapak, I'm going to repeat once again about the responses toward Pak Musafan questions. So regarding to number 1, what platform did you use to make the digital comic? In this case, I use storyjumper.com. This is a free platform you can use, and it is quite accessible. But here, in this case, the teacher should have the script first, and then the audio to be enclosed, and then, of course, the story draft, right? So here I use that platform to integrate or to put my digital comic. And then who draw the comic? Yes, in this case, I assign one of my students because here we have multimedia broadcasting department. So there is a student who is quite an expert, yeah, in making a storyboard and also drawing some characters in a comic. And then what language focus did you put in the comic? Like what I told you before, this is not merely just a comic. This comic is part of the textbook. So there is a distinguished section asking some question, asking for maybe related to the vocabularies, the language components like grammatical structure, and also there is maybe a piece of text, yeah, just to make sure the students digest the information from the comic. So there are some questions to practice their language skills as well as the language components. And then is it thematic comic? Yes, it is. Because it is the intention of this comic is to be delivered for engineering students. Like what I told you, the theme or the topic is occupational health and safety, or in Bahasa we talk about K3. So how to prepare the students to get ready to protect themselves when it comes to job field. So this is like how they are supposed to take the first aid. Let's say for the simple way, how to use the fire extinguisher. So in this case, this comic is developed only for one theme, only for occupational health and safety. But in the near future, we are going to add another theme as long as it is related with this engineering field, this specific field. Okay, I think that's all my response. Hope it can answer your question, Pak Musofan.
Okay, thank you, Bu Radina. So for the platform, Story Jumper is just to publish the comic, not to make the comic. Is it right?
Yes, that's true. So in this, in the Story Jumper, you may upload your draft, or sorry, your printed comic, or you may create your own. So there are some character or there are some figures that you can add. So you can start develop the characters, or as you want, you can start develop the background, the color as you want based on your preference. But you can have another option, like when you have ready printed materials, you can just upload it.
So we can make the comic using this Story Jumper.
Yes, that's true.
Yes. Okay. So it's not only we have to upload it just to publish, no, but we can create through Story Jumper the comic,
we can create
because it provides
yes.
the characters.
Yep.
Okay, yes, thank you. I would like to try this Story Jumper. I think it's interesting. Thank you,
Yep.
Bu Radina.
Okay, you're welcome, Pak Musofan.
Radina and Mushafan, thank you very much. And we still have, say, 12 minutes for question or for comments or giving suggestion. Okay, we have 26 participants here. So please unmute and then you can ask questions to the presenters. Or you can type if you want to. No question? Okay, yeah, if we don't have, you don't have, yes. Yeah, if there is no question, then we can move to the parallel session 2. So we will have enough time later on to have lunch. Okay, now please, Retang and then Ibu Lia and also Pak Joko to prepare yourself. And the first presenter will be Retang. Okay, okay. Okay, let me share my PPT. Okay, Pak Yogi, can you see my PPT, Pak Yogi? Or
yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I have 15 minutes to share a story. So I want to bring you far away to Sumba, to Sumba where I come from. Sumba is an island in eastern part of Indonesia. So my name is Retang Wangara. I'm a lecturer here at the Faculty of Language and Arts. My area of research is folklore and also English literature, of course, but just in these few years, I have focused on doing research on folk narratives, like folk tales and also ritual speech. So the title of my paper is, "And Now We Are Dogs with One Single Park and Horses with One Running Track. Metaphors in Sumbanese marriage ritual speeches." So I'm talking about the metaphors in ritual speeches, especially the speeches of the people from Nusa Tenggara Timur, from Sumba. The menu, okay, first introduction, and I believe you already understand what metaphor is, what ritual is, and Sumbanese ritual speech. And then I want just to talk very briefly about those terms. And then the second part will be, I give you some example of ritual speeches with metaphor in it, and of course the meanings. and that's when I give a conclusion. Okay, now a kind of introduction. Yeah, I think we use figurative language, yeah, not only in literature, but also in movie, and even in daily conversations, we use figurative language. So what is figurative language? So according to Giro and Williston, that is the language which departs from the straightforward use of the words. So a special way of using language, using words. Why? To create a special effect, clarifies an idea, and makes writing and also, of course, utterance more colorful and forceful. Abrams, also the father of, or the mbah of literary terms, defined that this is a kind of departure in using language, yeah, in order to achieve some special meaning or effect. And under the figurative language, we have metaphor, which is the focus of my presentation. What is metaphor? It is a kind of figurative speech that compare one thing to another for a rhetorical effect. So in the daily language, we say, "Ah, kamu cantik, you are pretty." But then, of course, we can say, "You are a flower, smiling in the morning." Say, instead of saying you are pretty, I say you are flowers smiling in the morning. When I say you are flower, I use a metaphor, and then smiling in the morning, I use personifications. That's the kind of figurative language. And also, if they say coronavirus is a thief with dirty cold hands, that is a kind of metaphor. So coronavirus is compared to a thief. Not only a thief, but a thief with dirty and cold hands, knocking our doors, knocking our windows. Yeah, right. So that is some information about figurative language and metaphor, and also ritual. I think ritual is a part of our life. We have ritual related to religious celebrations, but also we have ritual related to our daily activities, which is profane. Uh, so what is ritual? Ritual is a special kind of repeated pattern performance expressing beliefs, values, and identities. And I believe you have ever participated in some kinds of ritual. And then in ritual performance, some are included, like the people, there should be people, there are actions, there are contexts, and also the use of language. And now I'm going to Sumba. Sumba is ritual speech. So Sumba is an island in the Nusa Tenggara province that is close to Kupang and the south of Bali, I believe. And then Sumbanese people still practice their ritual, especially marriage rituals, with ritual speeches which are rich in metaphors. Okay, they believe that their ritual speeches, okay, are from the ancestors, so they have to keep them as it is. So there is no way to change them. So they have to maintain them as it is passed down from generation to generation. So in the language of the people called Kambiara language, ritual speech is called Lawiti Luluk. Now, I want to give you some examples of ritual couplets, about 5, I believe, and then the metaphor. So here, I read the local language. Na umma hakapapa nakaheli ngalawala. It means that, okay, the raised bamboo floor, okay, that is supported by wood floor that's supported by a very easily broken wood. So the look at the house, and then they use the wood. What the meaning of this? The metaphor. So if the house is only a part, so it refers to these ritual couplets refers to someone who is single, because so many people believe if you are single your whole life, you are like just like a half house, and your life is supported by a wood that is not very only a half, so it is not complete, and also like a life that is fragile. So this is the idea of ritual cups. So the metaphor is about the fragility, about the incompleteness of being single. So again, the ritual couplets I'm going to share to you is about marriage ritual couplets. And the second one is Namataway Amahu Napat Anjarahamu. So the meaning is the golden water source and the fertile horse pasture. Look at that, the golden water and also the horse pasture. The metaphor is used to describe that, okay, the wife taker, okay, the wife taker, it means that the groom's family is a source of gold and horses. For example, in Sumba, people still use dowry, and the dowry horses are gold, traditional fabrics. So gold and horses are the common dowry given by the side of wife taker. Wife taker means the part that takes wife. So the metaphor used here is the water source, the golden water source, and the fertile horse pasture. The next, this is interesting, and also I use the title for this is for the title. So we use the metaphor, the animal, dog and horse. Dog. So the couplet says like this: "Au hau anga, jara hau palai," means dogs with one bark and horses with one running track. So the idea is that if we already come to conclusion, if we already conclude about the number of the dowry we have to pay, and also the day of the marriage, and then we should bark just in one single bark, okay, and also we run just in one single track. So don't break our promise. So that's the idea. So look at that. The rhythm of speech is very indirect. Yeah. So compare human beings or the people like dog and like horses. Dog with one bark and horses with one single tread. So if we have made an agreement, please don't run in another track. Don't bark differently. So that's the idea. Ritual couplet 4, pahurutu kalungu panyuka au bapangu. The drying up life banana leaf leaning down like an old bamboo. This expression is used to express that if the bride taker cannot pay the dowry, while the wife giver still demanding, give us more horses, and they say, oh, please don't force me. Now I'm drying up banana leaf. I'm leaning down like a bamboo. So means so don't ask more horses because okay, I'm like a bamboo wants to fall down like that. So that is the expression in marriage negotiation. And I think this one will be the last. Now, in the context of Sumbani's ritual speech, we have this couplet, Ti bumawala kaluma ihi, meaning the ready to harvest sugarcane and the ripe banana ready to eat. It refers to a girl, a ready to marry girl. So if you are ready to marry and then you are ready to harvest sugarcane, so you are sweet, and then you are a ripe banana. So that is the expression in ritual couplets. The metaphor is sugarcane and ripened banana. Okay, so this is the conclusion. So Sumanese ritual speeches, and I believe in also in other speeches from other parts of Indonesia and even in other countries, are rich, okay, in figurative speeches, especially metaphor. And metaphors are only well understood in context. So without the context, without having information from the insider, from the people there, it is easy to be misled about the meaning of metaphors. And then, of course, if you want to do further research, this is for students of the Faculty of Language and Arts. So I think it is an area, an interesting area, if you want to do research in ritual speeches, and also for other figurative speeches like simile, synecdoche, symbolism, personification, and so on. I think that's all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening to me. And of course, later on, if you have any questions, I will be more than happy to bring you to Sumba. Thank you. Okay, terima kasih. Hopefully you are still here, everybody. Now let's go to Pak Adi Malan, and then Dr. Leah. So would you please display your PPT, upload your PPT for all of us?
Okay, sir.
Okay, okay.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear your
Okay.
voice,
Okay.
Pak Adi.
Okay. PPT.
Yes.
Okay, it's visible.
Yes, yes.
Okay. I will. Okay, I will start my presentation. Okay.
Yes.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah. Okay, thank you so much for moderator for give me more time for presenting my research. Today I will present about word formation of Sundanese food name in Instagram hashtag morphological study. Before Sumbanese and here Sundanese. Well, so it's interesting.
Okay, okay, okay.
Okay. Oh yeah, I will introduce myself. My name is Ali Malan, and well, let's begin for the introduction. Okay. Okay. Sundanese food names are usually found in the social media. One of them is Instagram, which provides many culinary information. Users of Instagram mostly use that social media to promote or share culinary information. And actually, they are not only not always from Sundanese, but they use a known Sundanese food name. And that phenomena is reflected in the hashtag followed by a user. That user of Instagram certainly convey in the terminology, which refer to the different types of word formation. Well, and actually, many patterns that construct the form of the word are found in the daily activity, whose patterns reflect to the dynamic of language and language user. And one of the morphology is the branch of linguistics that emerges to identify and categorize the patterns of word in the study. One of the topic in the morphology is word formation that will be explained in this topic and toward the social media phenomena. All all of the Sundanese food names used in this research are related videos. Well, next slide. Our research question. What are the types of word formation in the Instagram hashtag? And the second one, what are the most dominant types of word formation in the Instagram hashtag? Okay. And the next slide, there are methodology. This paper employ the qualitative method that builds the words, it's not number. Qualitative method consists in the three kinds of the data collecting. Number one, in the deep and open-ended interview. The number two, direct observation. Number three, rated document. In this paper or in this research, the reader firstly research the data in Instagram hashtag to gain the different types of word formation. And the second one, the data obtained are categorized into different types of word formation. And the third one, or the last one, is mostly the most dominant types is provided in the chart. Okay. Data source. The next slide, data source. The data are taken from the Instagram application, a specific Instagram hashtag that is followed by many Instagram users. The writer search some words to gain the most frequent word in the Instagram hashtag to know the use word in the post. And the data are randomly collected in the April 20 and 21 to gain the actual word of words. Well, okay, next slide. Okay, vertical background. Okay. In this chapter or in this slide consists in the explanation to types of word formation that will be discussed for the data analysis. It's contained with only theories related with the findings that will be explanation in the table of the vertical outline. They are compounding, blending, and reduplication. Well, and the slide actually provide the types of word formation in Instagram hashtag. Okay. And the next one, data analysis. Actually, in here, they are table, the table of word formation in the Instagram hashtag. The word and combination culinary, which show in the table. This is just the circle example of the data analysis. For the blending, they are cireng, cilok, cipu, cimin, and cilung. For the compounding, they are nasi liwet, oncom, empal gentong, kecap oncom, nasi timbel. And for the reduplication, they are arem-arem, bala-bala, and awal. I will explain this one by one. Well, this is the example of analysis. For the first one, there is blending. Cireng is aci digoreng in Indonesia's language. In this word is found the hashtag cireng that is posed about 2,030,000 times. This word contains contain the two different synthetic categories, namely aci as a noun and digoreng as a verb. At the both of refer to the form of the process of Sundanese food name. And the second one, cilok. Cilok is aci dicolok. This word is discovered in the hashtag cilok that posted about 2,000, 11,000 times, 211,000 times. This word contains two different synthetic categories, namely aci as a noun and dicolok as a verb. Well, the second slide, the second example, compounding. Compounding, they are nasi liwet and nasi timbel. Well, nasi liwet, this word is discovered in the hashtag nasi liwet that posts 100,000 times. And this word refers to the two same synthetic category, namely noun and they combine the two words become the new meaning in the data. Both of two words reflect to the form of the Sundanese food name. Okay, I will next slide. They are duplication. They are aring-aring and bala-bala. Well, this word is found in the hashtag aring-aring that is posted about 11,600 times. If words are separated as aram only, people mostly cannot recognize it anymore. Same with bala-bala. Bala-bala discovered in the hashtag bala-bala that post more than 500 times. The writer used the direction Hanet in the Instagram because the terminology bala-bala refers to something different. If words separated bala only, people cannot recognize it anymore. Okay. Sorry. Okay. And the next slide, they are the frequency is word formation Instagram hashtag. And the table presented by the chart show that mostly dominant types of word formation in the findings is blending. Blending presented by the blue color in the p-axis in the 65% proportion in the findings. And the second one, there is compounding presented by the red color in the p-text 30% proportion in the findings. And the last is the duplication presented by the green color has 5% proportion in the findings. Conclusion. The results show the Instagram user mentioned the Sundanese food name in the post. The post can contain information about Sundanese food or promotion of foods. Blending has the biggest proportion based on the hashtag. It indicates that blending is mostly used by Instagram users in the post. The blending words such as like cireng, cilok, cipu, cimo, cilor, cilo, and familiar Instagram user. Okay, thank you so much for my presentation. And back to the moderator. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Mas Adi. But Mas Adi, I'm getting hungry, bro, because of cireng and so on. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay, thank you for your presentations about word formations. Okay, in food, especially from Sunda. Okay. Now let's go to the next presentation by Pak Joko. Yeah. Okay, you save and stop sharing, Pak Adi.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Please stop share, and then we will allow Pak Joko. Pak Joko, are you here? Pak Joko Prayuda, are you here with us? Oh, Pak Joko is looking for cilok or Pak Joko Prayuda. No? Okay, I cannot see Pak Joko here. All right. Now let's make most of the time to ask question or to give suggestions or to give informations about related topics. Anyone, please go ahead. So please ask questions to Pak Adi and Retang. Anyone? I see some students from the Faculty of Language and Arts here. If you want to ask questions. Okay, go ahead. We have enough time for this session, question and answer session. Okay, Bu Wigati seems to you want to ask question, Bu Wigati? Hello? Buradina, are you there? Buradina, are you there? Hello, what's going on? Anyone can hear my voice?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm afraid if I'm not, I'm alone here. Okay, any question, any comment? Okay, while we are waiting for questions or comments or suggestion, would you please Ibu Olivia and Ruth Elizabeth and Abdul Aziz, I believe, please prepare your PPT. But before that, we still waiting for questions or comments from the audience. Okay, yeah. And now let's go to the parallel session 3. Olivia, are you here? Okay, Olivia. Okay, I see Olivia right now. I cannot hear you, but can you hear me? Can you hear me? If you can hear me, yes, thumbs up. I cannot hear your voice. Okay, I think you need to unmute. No, still. How about other audience? Can you hear?
I cannot hear.
You cannot. Okay, I cannot either. Please, Olivia, try to. Yes, I can see you, Olivia. Okay, do you want me to go to, okay, okay, while you are fixing the problem, okay, Ruth, do you want to go first? Yes, it's okay, Olivia. Please stop sharing. Ruth, Johannes, are you here? Ruth and Angelica Riandari, okay. Okay, we are still waiting for Ruth. And then Olivia is trying very hard to fix the problem. No. Okay, let me check. So, Abdul Aziz, are you here? Hello, Abdul Aziz. Okay, audience, please bear with us. Okay, bear with us. There are some technical issue, but Olivia, and we are still waiting for two other presentations by Ruth and also up. Okay, Olivia, can you make it back? Say something, please. No, I cannot hear you. Okay. All right. Okay, we are trying to find, we have two more presentations, but they are not here. And then mungkin ada yang mau menyanyi. Anyone want to sing? Okay. Or maybe ask questions or again. Pak Anton, Bu Galuh.
Halo Pak Retang.
Yes, Bu Wigati from Papua ya Bu ya. Yes, Bu Wigati. Yes, please Bu.
I'm just fixing the. Yeah, Pak Retang. Good afternoon, Pak Retang. I have a question for you.
Okay.
It's dealing with the folklore in Sumba.
Okay, good.
It is interesting to me. My question is simple. Do Sumba people now still practice the rituals?
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely, yes, Bu.
Yeah, it's very interesting. My question is how do they preserve it? Because it's a bit hard, you know, in Papua to preserve the cultural heritages. Thank you.
Yes, Bu Wigati, this is a very sensitive question. If we talk about religion,
yeah, sure.
it is true that in Sumba, many people already convert into Christianity, embrace into Christianity, and more than often, people who embrace the big religions look down at those kind of practice.
Sure.
But in Sumba, it's a little bit different. People are proud of saying themselves are Christians, but at the same time, they still practice the traditions, especially in marriage negotiations. So people are proud of their local knowledge about how you negotiate in using that kind of elevated language, a very beautiful language. And it is interesting for us to learn how people can come up with this idea to say that, okay, now please, instead of saying, don't break your promise, you have to keep, I believe you, they say, no, now we are one dog with one bark. We are horses with one single track. So I think people still practice that, especially in eastern part of Sumba, where I come from, because Sumba is a small island, but there are about more than 3 languages. I come from the eastern part of Indonesia. The people speak about 300,000 speak the local language called Cambiara, and people still, church, but also the traditions they don't want, because we are proud of being Sumbanese using that kind of language. Of course there are some challenges. People challenge, say that why do you use that local language? That is a sign of backwardness, of primitive. But just in the recent 5 years, the recent 10 years, people are proud of using the local language. I myself am proud of using Cambiara.
And you speak it?
Yes, Ku pingu papa hilu Cambiara. I'm still able to speak the local language.
Very interesting, Pak. Thanks a lot.
Bu. I hear about you from Mereka, but maybe later on I will talk about folklore, because here in our faculty I teach some folklore courses, especially on introduction to folklore, and maybe later on rituals and folk narratives.
Interesting, Bapak.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a
Thank
lot,
you, Bu
Pak Retang.
Wigati. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Bu. Okay, now let's go back to Mbak Manado. Mbak Olivia, now. Any good news, Olivia? Not yet. Okay. Can you type what do you want me to do, Mbak? uh, Actually, we still have time. Okay, we still have a lot of time. Actually, we are going to end the session in 12:40. 12:40. We still have a lot of time. So I don't know if you have. Again, I always begging for questions or comments while we are still waiting for Olivia and Ruth and Abdul Aziz. Ruth, are you here? Okay. Abdul Aziz, are you here? Takutnya teman-teman ini ada di dunia lain gitu. In different breakout room. Okay. Okay, we wait for a couple of minutes. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Test.
Now, Olivia has a moment to take a deep breath, Mbak. And then when you are ready, okay, you can start. And I give you more than 15 minutes, of course. We still have a lot of time. Yeah, but yeah. Okay, you can start when you're ready, Olivia. Loh, hilang lagi loh, Mbak. Suaramu hilang lagi. Tadi suddenly, okay.
Can you hear
Audible?
me?
Yes, yes, I can hear
I know
you
how
now.
to set this laptop.
Okay.
Okay.
Nah,
So
good.
should I share my
Yeah, go ahead, please.
test? Is that clear,
Good,
sir?
good. Yes, good.
Wait a moment, please. And I'm so
Yes.
sorry for the.
It's okay.
Now I'm really nervous.
Nah, nanti dendanya nanti Mbak menyusul.
Okay. Is that clear, sir?
Nah, this thing is still in process, Mbak.
Okay, can you guys? Now the problem is in the.
Now we only see a blank
Really,
screen
sir?
with swipes.
Yes, sir. Can you see my?
I mean, it's still on process, Mbak. Still buffering. Okay, I can see your screen now. I think you need only, yeah, please click the PPT, Olivia, second.
Okay. So. Okay. Are we good now, sir?
Now, please click there. You are still on your computer, on your laptop. You need to click it. And then.
Already, sir. I already click it, sir.
Okay. But I see your file there, PPT Olivia 2 and WhatsApp image.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry, sir, to interrupt. Maybe I can help the presenter.
Good.
So please,
Yes.
you can open your PPT Olivia to your file, and
Yes,
then
I
you
already
click the,
opened it.
yeah, okay,
I
okay,
already opened it.
okay, and then you can share screen and then choose your PPT tab.
I'm sorry.
Okay, have you opened your PPT?
Already?
Nah, and you can go to the share screen in the bottom and in the center and bottom.
With the
Okay,
green
share screen, you can
arrow.
click the share screen. Olivia, are
Already.
you? Okay, and you can choose your PPT tab.
I cannot open. I'm so sorry, sir.
Okay, basically we still have time, Asgali. If Olivia can send the PPT to, I don't know how to, right.
But
Okay,
Olivia, you can share your PPT in our group WhatsApp.
Okay.
Okay, have you joined the group?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, I will type in the chat box the link, so you can join there and you can drop your PPT. All right, wait a minute. Okay, you can.
Can you see closer?
Okay, it's already okay. It's good. Okay. So
now I can,
advance.
yeah,
Okay.
yes, I can
Yes.
see Olivia now about racial discrimination. Good.
Yes.
Okay, you look good. Okay, yeah.
I haven't introduced myself.
Okay, go ahead.
As you can see, my name is Olivia Mariana Lohi, and I'm a student in English Language and Literature Study program in Universitas Negeri Manado. Okay, I will start the presentation. This study aims to determine the action of racial discrimination committed by white people against Black people in the help, and in analyzing the data, I use mimetic approach by Abrams. There are many actions of racial discrimination reflected in the help, and it can be seen in several sections. First, the discriminatory law, namely Jim Crow law. Well, the lives of white people and Black people in Mississippi, as described in the help, are controlled by a law called Jim Crow law. And this law states separate but equal, but it's not equal at all because this law promoted discrimination and it supported discriminatory action that occur between whites and Black people. Relating to this problem, Harry believes in the new Jim Crow law material state that Jim Crow has been a derogatory slang term for the Black people for a long time, and making it a suitable name for the laws that prevail in the southern United States and some border countries from 1877 to the middle of 1960s. Jim Crow law was a set of laws and social customs requiring racial segregation from 1881 to 1964. The next is discriminatory stereotypes. In the help, most of white people are having discriminatory stereotype or bad judgment about Black people. And of course, they think that they are not the same, even though they are all humans with the same feelings and rights to live peacefully. The first discriminatory stereotypes is they think that Black people are dirty. Well, the help shows that almost all the white people think that Black people are dirty. They also teach their children who still colorblind about the racial discrimination that Black people are dirty. According to William, Gordon, and Davis in African American European Americans, and pathological stereotypes. As a historical example, throughout the greater half of the 20th century, African Americans were stereotyped as dirty and contaminated. The next stereotype is Black people as disease. The novel shows that almost white people think that Black people can spread many kinds of their skin, and this problem makes the white people really worry, and it becomes a big problem for both whites and Blacks. For example, when Evelyn, a Black maid in the help, works in her white employer house, she has a separate bedroom because her employer worries that she will cause disease to their family if she used the same bedroom as them. According to Weilo in Stigma, Race, and Disease, African Americans were often portrayed as a key disease factor capable of infecting other parts of American population. And it can explain that one of the reasons why the segregation existed is because the stereotype that Black people were carrying disease and white people are too afraid about it. The next stereotype is Black people are dumb. In the help, the teacher who teach in white children's schools teach their students to discriminate Black people. One of the white teacher also taught her student that Black people are dumb. That's why they cannot enter their white school. According to Close and William in Racial Stereotypes from the Days of American Slavery, National Public Opinion Survey do not measure racial stereotypes, yet these authors found some research that indicate that there has been a steady decline in the beliefs that white are more intelligent than Black. From this, it can be seen that there ever been a stereotype assumed that white people are more intelligent than Black people, and it also makes them think that they are superior and Black people are deserved to be treated inappropriate. The last stereotype is Black people are thieves. In the help, the story tells that Black maids are often accused of being thieves. When they working for white employers, they were often accused of being thieves when something was missing, like stuff and other things. Relating to the stereotype that Black people are thieves, a 1967 study conducted by Pavley, Hurwitz, and Schneiderman indicate that white who hold negative stereotypes of American Americans judge them more harshly than they do other whites when making hypothetical decisions about violent crimes and welfare benefit. It can be seen that white people have bad stereotype that Black people are more criminal than their people, and that's what made them so easily to think that Black people are thieves who stealing their stuff. The next is discrimination in public service. Based on the story of the help, it can be seen that Black people in the southern United States become victims of racial discrimination because of Jim Crow law. As the researcher has explained before, this law promoted the idea separate but equal, but this is not equal at all. This law separates Black and white people, and the Blacks becomes the victims, while whites discriminate them. The discrimination to the Blacks can be seen in many aspects, especially in public service such as residential area, health service, public transportation, education, library, and voting. The first part is residential area. The first kind of racial discrimination in public service is the residential area. Whites and Black have to live in separate residential areas. They don't live together. And white people live in the larger area than Black people, and Black people only have small area to live. According to Kellogg in Negro Urban Cluster in the Postbellum South, in the emerging cities of the New South, urban Black cluster tended to be small and scattered in the late 19th century. Cities such as Lexington, Kentucky, Durham, North Carolina, and Atlanta, Georgia did not exhibit the backyard pattern of segregation. Nevertheless, Black districts formed in a narrow zone characterized by undesirable living conditions or depressed land prices. The next is in health service. The Black and white people have separate hospitals, and Black people can come to the white hospital and they have their own hospital for their races. According to Cafe Gavin and Korstad, in a book named Remembering Jim Crow, African American tells about the life in segregated South. As far as institutional care, there was up until 1965 a black hospital referred to a Mercy Hospital, which was understaffed and underfunded and was just a second-rate hospital. Nevertheless, that was a hospital for Black citizens and the only hospital for Black citizens. From this sentence, it can be seen that the Black people had their own hospital, which was a second-rate hospital at that moment, and white people got the best one. According to this, there is a book. Next, education. In this case, white and Black get different service, facilities, and access for education. The buildings of Black people and white people are separate. The children study in different school. The Black people can only enter certain school, and white won't allow them to be in the same school with their white children. According to this, there is a book about Black people telling their story. As one of the Black people said inside the book, well, we wanted good school and good principles, and that time we are not pushing so much for integration in the beginning. We were asking for good facilities. You know, teacher had to go way out of the state and to Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Mississippi Southern, or whatever. Those were not open to us in those days, and it was pretty hard to climb. The next is discrimination in public transportation. The Black and white people always have different facilities, and of course, white people always get the better one, and Black people get the second facilities. White and Black can get the same bus, but they are separated. They have separate seats. White people can sit in front of the bus and Black people in the back side of the bus. When there is no seat left, they must stand if the white people don't get seat in the bus. Relating to this case, there is a story about Rosa Parks, a Black woman who refused to give her seat to a white passenger. Rosa Parks was traveling from home when she was refused to give her seat to a white passenger in 1955. From this historical story, it can be seen that the racial discrimination in public transportation had been around for a long time, and since 1995, there was a person like Rosa Parks who tried to fight this racial discrimination. And the last one is voting. Library. The other kind of discrimination in public service is library service. White and Black people have different libraries. Just like the other service, the Black library is not as complete as white's library, and the facilities are not as good as white's library. Black people are not allowed to enter white's library, and of course, they can't use their better facilities. According to Wheeler, Johnson, and Walker in a brief history of library service to African Americans, Black people ever been denied to use some public libraries under the Jim Crow law era. And it's illegal for them to enter the white's library in library building. Their library building is smaller than the white's library, and the facilities are not the same as white's because they were segregated. And the last one is voting. The Black people are not allowed to go in the voting station in the health. This is a serious problem because as a citizen, everyone have a right to elect in the politics, and Black people have to struggle to go to voting station to use their right as citizen. And according to this, in a book, Remembering Jim Crow, for much of 20th century, African Americans in the South were barred from the voting booth and well off for many of the rights they deserve as American citizens. That's all, thank you.
Okay, Olivia, thank you. So Olivia, for your information, my undergrad thesis was about double discriminations against Black women. So you ring the bell, yeah, about segregations, about discriminations, about the Jim Crow, about many things, yeah, about Rosa Parks and so on and so on. Okay, thank you for your presentation, Olivia. Yeah, good. Thank you for being patient. It's okay. It's okay. No problem.
And thank you for waiting for me, sir.
No problem. No problem at all. Okay, now let's invite comments or question from the audience, from the participant here. Yes, please. Any question, any comment to? Oh, before that, Ruth, are you already here, Ruth or Abdul Aziz? No. Or anyone? Is there anyone who is supposed to present their paper in this break room? No. It seems that we are alone. Yeah. Right. Okay. So you talk about the help. Yeah, Olivia. Is it a movie? Oh, sorry, I just missed that part.
I have the novel. It's
Oh,
called
okay.
The Help, and there is also a movie adapted from this novel, also named The Help.
Okay. Yeah. So what is mimetic? You mentioned about mimetic criticism. What do you mean by mimetic?
It's like the imitation of the universe. So it's like imitation, right?
So you think the help?
Yes, of course. Because the writer herself told in her book that she wrote this The Help because her childhood inspired her. She grew with a black maid, and in that moment, racial discrimination is still pervaded their society.
Why don't you use biographical approach and then you use mimetic then? Or social historical?
I want to study this topic. Yes, sir. Pardon?
No, just go ahead.
Because I want to study these topics by looking through the history, right? That's why I use mimetic.
Yeah, because in literature also we have the socio-historical approach, right? But mimetic is a very umbrella term, but we have socio-historical approach, believing that a work of literature is not created in vacuum, but it has context. It can mirrors the reality, what happened at the time. Like that. But that's okay. It is interesting for me to know about a student discussing about racial discriminations against Black people. Right. Okay, audience, please. Any question, any comment?
Can I ask a question?
Okay. Okay. Ibu Patricia.
Yeah. So, thank you. I mean, I'm an American, and I know that Retang actually went to school at my alma mater as well, Indiana University.
Yes. Who should?
Yeah. Well, when I was there too, I'm from California originally. But it was a bit shocking when I was a graduate student to go there and realize that the KKK was still quite active that's the Ku Klux Klan, in a town not so far from where our university was. Yeah. So it's interesting to hear the redaction about racial discrimination from an Indonesian perspective. What I'm thinking, and this is just I know this is more of a literature analysis, is what does it mean to you to read this work coming from an Indonesian perspective? What can you take from a discussion of racial discrimination and inequalities against African Americans? And do you see anything that you can pull out of maybe Indonesian cultures or parallels, or how do you see this work and literature redacted through perhaps an Indonesian lens?
Okay, very interesting question, Patricia. Okay, Sylvia. Do you understand the question, Olivia?
Yes, yeah, asking my perception, my perspective as an Indonesia about this.
Yeah. So do you think, okay, go ahead, take your time.
Well, from these works, I think that we can learn how to value the that we need to appreciate the other people. And I think this work is really, and this topic is really interesting to be studied, because as we can see, the racial discrimination to the Black can still be found nowadays. Like we can see like hashtag Black Lives Matter. And I think it's really interesting to study so that people can realize that this racial discrimination to the Black has been a historical problem, that it has been there a long time, so that it can make us to realize that we have to be more aware. How can the music change, that the way we style change, the things getting modern, but the problems still the same. So I hope that we can value the other people by seeing their words. So that's why I think this work is really interesting to be studied.
But this colorism that we get in America, it's very much related to chattel slavery, which you know, I'm sure. The whole transatlantic slave trade, where people by the millions were, you know, taken from Africa and brought to the United States, and for generations were forced to be free labor. You know, and then the emancipation in 1863 wasn't an emancipation for everyone. And the Jim Crow laws actually came into effect because there was an attempt to kind of reestablish that slavery system in the post-slavery period in the South. So we know that that's kind of the colonial history that underpins the issues that you're examining. Do you see a similar issues in Indonesia, and maybe related to Indonesia's colonial history?
Yeah.
Or do you see different issues?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, as I know, in 2020 in Indonesia, there is a discrimination to the Papua, as we know that when maybe in Surabaya, I guess, when they found that the flag fell into the ground, and then the citizen in there, the people in Surabaya, getting mad to the Papua, and they also call them monkey. But this problem has been solved in 2020. There ever been a problem, the same problem?
Okay. I don't know if it's been solved. Has it been solved?
I think it's come back to our own self, how we respect the other people.
Yeah, the issue of West Papua is like intermittent. It cool down, but it comes back. It cool down, it comes back, and then it is still the issue of Indonesia right now about racial discriminations against the Papuan people, because look at from the physical appearance.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think
Papua people. Yeah, and also the Odifia, we have different kind of discrimination, for example, against minority, against the Chinese people, and so on. So more or less the same. There's a kind of discriminations, but maybe not as strong as in the US, especially when you talk about slavery and about Black people, how they were brought from. Yeah, but we have that kind of. Okay, we can smell discrimination here in Indonesia. Yeah, and it is repeated again and again and again like that. So I think we can learn from the experience from the United States on that. Yeah, Olivia, yeah? Yeah. Yes, thank you, Patricia. Any other comments or question from Mr. Adi or from other participants? Jessica, yes, please.
Okay, thank you, Parita, and thank you, Olivia, and others as well. Sorry. I have a problem with the okay. The video connection. Right. Well, it's interesting you come up with the idea of discrimination, yeah, but it's following Patricia's questions, whether or not in the Indonesian context we have that kind of discrimination. I'm not sure we have that level or that thick of discrimination. as what is probably described in the American context. But throughout the history, the so-called sentiments from one ethnic group to the other ethnic group it's obsolete. I mean, it's there, it's always there, right? But Southeast Asia is quite interesting region as well. Well, racial sentiments there, but the way we treat people and the way we also married one off to the other ethnic group, it's quite common, okay? Compared to the East Asia, China, Japan, South Korea, Mongolia, which is much more, if I can say, what is it? I do not want to use this word inclusive, sorry, exclusive, but Southeast Asia is much more fluid in terms of that social mobility, yeah, historically speaking, and until now. Okay, that's why one of my friends as well, when a colleague from Korea was quite surprised that Indonesia composed of almost 700 and more ethnic groups, and it's intermarriage is very common. It's not issue anymore. Trying to understand how we know others and how others know us is a quite a dynamic process. It's not just simply black and white, and well, if you don't like me, I kill you, or if you don't like, it's part of this nation building, I guess. Okay, so probably I have to say, fortunately, just compared to the West Papua now, just Paritan now touch upon. Probably I a little bit disagree with your statement, Paritan. I'm not sure that there is a kind of discrimination. I'm not sure yet of the rest of the 23 provinces against the West Papua. I think the problem is just like who is in power once against the other, even among the Papuans themselves. It's very complicated. They have been given billions and billions of money, and you know the result. It's no issue anymore. When they ask for their accountability, then they come up with the issue of it's an old narrative actually. So probably field research, going and asking those not in power there is much more substantial. Okay, well, let's see that. But anyway, I guess in Manado, Olivia, you are from Manado, right? Okay.
Yes.
The intermarriage between the people of the Zulu and also those in Davos is quite common, right? In the past, I guess, right? Between the Indonesian and also the Filipinos. So I guess, Paritang, it's that's why Southeast Asia is much more fluid. Anyway, congratulations, Olivia. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Any other, thank you, Buddy. Any other comments? So one day in Bloomington, Patricia, I get on Bloomington transportations from campus to Kroger, I believe. There are some old people say that, that is the Mexican took our job. So they think I'm a Mexican taking their jobs. Okay, I don't feel discriminated, but maybe that's from economic perspective. They think I'm there to take their jobs and so on and so on. I'm just laughing and I say, hey, I'm from Indonesia, not from Mexico, like that.
Yeah, I have my own experience. My husband's Malaysian Chinese, and we were newly married, and I was doing my PhD exams. We went once to Paoli, which I don't know if you remember, but West Baden Springs, Paoli, at the turn of the century, they had like sort of hot springs there, and there's a resort, and we stopped at one of these bar, or like it was like a bar or a place to eat, and it was like something out of a movie. We walked in, and all of a sudden there was a jukebox playing, and it went, and everybody turned around and looked, right? Because here I am, I'm a Western woman, and I'm walking in with my Malaysian Chinese husband, and it was sort of like silence. And everyone started staring at us. And my husband's just like, walking on over to sit down. And I'm like, yeah, back slowly out. And we are leaving now. Because you know, it's like something you can feel the tension, and it's not something I grew up with I grew up in Southern California, so Mexican culture is our culture. You know, I grew up hearing Spanish, speaking Spanish, dancing ballet folklorico, all of that. But to go to Indiana was a different experience. So I think even regionally within the United States, it's very different. And Indiana, where we were, is kind of the northern South.
Mhm.
It's just across the border from Kentucky. So there's a lot of that sort of residual Southern culture there.
Okay, thank you, Patricia. Yeah, any other comments and suggestions? Now I'm still waiting for Ruth. Ruth, are you here? Abdul Aziz, are you here? No? Yes, any other, we still have, I think 5 more minutes, and then we can take a break, and then we will join enter the main Zoom room around 1:50. So we still have time to grab something to eat, to have lunch. And so any other suggestion or comments from the audience, from the participants? No? Okay, I think I just want to conclude these 3 parallel sessions. Some presenters are missing, but it's okay. Maybe they have some problems out there with the internet connections, okay, or other reasons. So thank you very much for presenting. We have Rizky, Bu Rizkiana, Musafan. So we have Radina, Irfan, and then from the Philippines we have Miss Marifik, and then I myself, Pak Adi, and then the last one is Olivia. So again, thank you very much, and see you later in the main Zoom room, and then you can leave and then have something to eat. Okay, so thank you very much, and see you later.
Thank you, Bapak Retang.
Yeah.
See you later.
Yeah. Bye.